Turn it over. Go ahead, Jonette.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. We would like to welcome you to Team Serve. I am Jonette Piepesheimer, biochemist and lead research scientist for Dr. EMF.
And I am Dr. Russell John Court, lead clinician of Dr. EMF. We have been a part of MicroDaily for the past 7 years, and we've had the honor to have worked closely with Dr. Prasad.
Together, we are your leaders of Team Serve and are happy to assist you in any way we can. We will be hosting weekly calls and trainings to help educate and equip you in building your business.
But first, I must read a protective disclaimer. These statements and comments have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This information is for educational purposes only. Engage, the micronutrient company, does not claim that our products diagnose, treat, cure, heal, or prevent any disease or injury. Engage's products do, however, address the deficiencies and provide our bodies with the nutrition we are lacking.
All right, welcome everybody to the Optimal Longevity series. Tonight's topic is nutrients and your gut microbiome, part 1. I'd like to welcome my co-host, Dr. Russell John Court. Welcome, Dr. Court. And he is an author, speaker, chiropractor, worked in brain rehab in 35 years, and on the balance of the on the Academy of the Sleep Balance Academy. And welcome. And I'd also like to introduce our special guest tonight, Dr. Kedar Prasad. And Dr. Kedar Prasad, let me get your all your accolades up there, but we're going to go over that. Welcome, Dr. Prasad.
Thank you, Jonette. Pleasure to be with you and Dr. Court.
Nice to see you.
Here we go. We'll get him up. All right. So Dr. Prasad was a professor at the University of Colorado School of Medicine, Denver for over 30 plus years. He was the director of vitamin and cancer research. He's the former president in the International Society, I can't see, Cancer and Nutrition. That was from 1992 to 2000. He was the president. He is a member of the British Society of Medicine, London. And he was on the Nobel Prize nominating committee for candidates in medicine in 1982. He is the world's first radiation PhD biologist. He has been awarded 7 US patents on micronutrients to date, but there are many patent pending. He discovered the anti-cancer potency of vitamin E succinate. He discovered that butyric acid, that small fatty acid formed by fermentation of fibers in the gut, is an anti-cancer agent. He is an author and co-author of over 32 books, and I hear there's a couple more on the way. And he has published over 260 peer-reviewed articles in some of the most prestigious journals, such as Nature, and I've read many of them. So welcome, Dr. Prasad, and welcome everybody to the call tonight.
Thank you, Jonette, for a kind introduction.
And it's so fun to go back and review your work, because I'm in research every day, and your work is just so pivotal to micronutrients and our health, and in this time that all the work you've done. It's truly, there aren't any words. You know, I use the word novel, and your approach is novel, but it's pivotal. And so let's go back and review real quick why we're here and what the Optimal Longevity series is about. It is really an umbrella topic where we're actually breaking down, and we've done our first 2 segments. And the very first one was on diabetes. And it was if you've not watched it, please go back and watch that. It's a cornerstone of really a lot of health issues with the imbalances of blood sugar. But actually the #1 hallmark of aging is dysfunctional nutrient sensing. And that goes right to the high blood sugar and insulin issues. And then the second one we covered was actually on dementia. And that was with his book on dementia for healthcare professionals on prevention and strategies. And for those of you that missed that, you really need to go back, because there is hope and there is prevention. strategies that he put in there. And for the very first time in writing ever, Dr. Prasad is the world's first radiation PhD, and he has written many works on ionizing radiation. But this was the first time that he actually put that the actual EMF exposure is a risk factor for dementia, and it's a really big statement from someone as pedigreed as Dr. Prasad to say there was enough literature, there's enough research out there for him to put his name to it. So let's look at one more topic of why we're here. And I love this. Let me get it up here. Come on, share. There we go. And the reason why we're here, and this is going to be really funny, and Dr. Port and I were talking about this, like we're saying the 60 is the new 30, Dr. Prasad. But we really want people to, take a look at their health span. And your lifespan is how long you live, but your health span is how many years you live a healthy, vibrant life.
Yep.
And we want your health span to equal your lifespan. And so tonight we're in for a special treat because normally, we're Dr. Court and myself as the lead researcher of Dr. EMF, we're pretty technical. I wanted tonight in this 2-part series of nutrients and the gut microbiome, let's take it back. Let's take it back to, when you first came to the US, your PhD, and how your passion started coming about, because we get to see it in the video, but I wanted to lay the groundwork of why I think that you are the world's foremost expert on micronutrients and radiation, and why people need to listen to the strategies and your products to help them live an optimal life and have optimal longevity. So with that, so Dr. Port, and I love when Dr. Port interviews him on parts of the research because of the work that he did with ionizing radiation. So Dr. Prasad, where would you like to start to share with people really before you came to the US and what you studied, and then, your doctoral work at University of Iowa, but then your postdoc on Parkinson's, which I do think all of that weaves the tapestry of really what got you here today.
Yeah. Well, I will be as brief as possible, because when I was in India, growing up in India, I had a master's in zoology. And during that period, there was Hiroshima and Nagasaki, as you know. And so I said, I should radiation biology and do some radioprotective agent, identify it. But I didn't know where to apply for it. I never thought. So I got a booklet where it describes various universities and their facility in the USA. And so I applied 10 different places, and one place I got a scholarship and came, and University of Iowa City, and joined the department of, at that time it's called Radiation Research Laboratory, within the School of Medicine. And they had, in the whole world, they had the only place where they had PhD program in radiation biology. Research was going on all over the world, but PhD program was the only place. So I joined it. And during my career, I identify cysteamine as a radioprotective agent against intestinal syndrome. If you have radiation to cause intestinal syndrome, meaning intestinal damage, a human will die within 5 days. And a rat and mice die in 3 days. So when I used radiation protection, this thing, many of them survived. But cysteamine was such compound that it was toxic in humans, so it was no good. But I wrote my thesis on that issue, and thesis got approved. And so I was looking for a postdoctoral, thinking about it. So when one day the chairman of the department came, he said, Kedar, you are going Brookhaven National Laboratory. I didn't even know what the Brookhaven National Laboratory, where it is. So I said, okay, I never applied for it. So I went there. As you know, it is highly classified area, so I had to go through all security and things like that. And then when I went there, I thought I will do radiation biology, but the chairman of medical department, Dr. Vic Bond, who was very famous radiation biologist, he said, Kedar, you try to do some additional research in a Parkinson's disease. So Dr. Kazia, who discovered the treatment of Parkinsonism with L-DOPA, he's responsible for that. So I was attached to him. And so then they started working on those issues. And then I stayed there for about 3 years and did a lot of work published in Nature and all this kind of stuff, and then moved to for a University of Colorado as an assistant professor and Department of Radiology, because I was a radiation biologist. So my main job was to teach radiation biology. But I wanted to do some research for some reason because of the Parkinson's neurobiology. I thought I should do some research in neurobiology. But I didn't want to do an animal model too complex. So I decided I went to Yale University to visit a friend of mine, and I found out they have a neuroblastoma cell line from mice, neuroblastoma. So I went and looked. The guy, postdoctoral fellow, was like hippie in those days. I had a long hair too. And so I became a friend, and he sent me. But I had no training in tissue culture, so I contaminated every time I tried. So finally he gave up. But I never gave up. So I ordered mice myself and I started doing it, and then did research. And at that time, it was cyclic AMP was just discovered. And as you know, the fellow, I forgot his name, was awarded Nobel Prize. And so, so I said, I will try cyclic AMP in neuroblastoma cell, just to see what happens. And I tried it, and it turned out a terminal differentiation. See, at that time, that was my major discovery, really. At that time, it was known that cancer cell cannot become normal cell. It's not possible because too many genetic changes. With cyclic AMP elevation, they become totally normal, like neuron. And when you inject the cell, they don't produce any more tumor. So I sent a paper this to Nature, and Francis Jacob was one of the reviewers, and he praised that paper. And for that, I became internationally known. I defined further these things. Then after about 5 years, and I got a lot of money from the NIH to do further research. At that time, then I saw a paper by Linus Pauling saying that vitamin C high dose kill cancer cell in human. But everybody denounced him. He said, oh, he's too old to vote, he's demented, and so on. So a lot of criticism from fellow scientists. And so I said, no, he's a too Nobel laureate. He can't be that wrong. So I want to test it. So that's the first time I use a nutrition, vitamin C, in my system. And sure enough, it killed the cell. And when I put in a normal cell like fibroblast, it didn't do anything. So then I said, if vitamin C does it, and then I did further research on that, and in combination chemotherapy and radiation, they enhance the effect on tumor cell, but not cancer cell. So, and for that, that's the time I became friendly with Linus Pauling, because he was having a meeting in Rio de Janeiro. And because of that, he has sponsored this work for PNAS to publish in Proceeding National Academy of Sciences. And so then I went to Rio de Janeiro. I became a very further good friend and presented my work, and he loved it. And then I said, if vitamin C can do it, how about vitamin E? That's curiosity. And they tried vitamin E acetate, which everybody was doing all clinical study, basic science study using vitamin E acetate. So when I put vitamin E acetate on neuroblastoma cell, it didn't do anything. So I asked my wife, who was working with me at that time as a technician, why don't you order some more vitamin C, what are available in the marketplace in Sigma? And then she found out vitamin E succinate, vitamin E nicotinate, vitamin E, many 3-4 different types. I tried, only vitamin E succinate killed cancer cell, but not normal cell. So that was the discovery, and then the combination. And then we developed a cell line when we put Alzheimer's gene in our blastoma cell. So they are happy, growing nicely. But when they differentiate, all will die because of the Alzheimer's gene mutated amyloid precursor gene. And so I said, well, it dies. I don't know why that. Maybe this is a increased oxidative stress. So I tried individual vitamin first, did some protection, but then I developed a mixture of antioxidant. and they did a perfect job. They totally protected from dying. In other words, the mutated gene-induced toxicity was totally abolished. So I developed at that time that is important, is multiple vitamin is more important. And so these kind of things develop slowly, and that is the way gradually I entered. But really, most of the people who knows me, my discovery of cyclic AMP, for which I was known, and I had many international meetings and so on and so forth. But so that is the way I entered nutrition. And then I was teaching, as you know, in medical school, medical student as a nutrition cancer. So when I will tell them what is effective to reduce the risk of cancer, he said, I can't find your suggestion in any health food store. So I said, I can't help. So one day, one of the students asked, why don't you start your company? I said, look, I'm a poor professor. I don't have money to start a company. Finally, my sister funded a scientific nutrition at that time and developed a product. And it was a bestseller product overnight, became 3,000-4,000 customers. Not overnight, but 3-4 weeks. And that became the mother of Micro Daily in a way, because there was a small company. Then I thought, this is too a small company. My son was running from Berkeley, And so I formed a bigger company. So I formed a new company called Premier Micronutrient Corporation. And then the rest of them, I started, develop a new product, which we call now Micro Daily. But there was no testing, it just developed the formulation. And then we got in touch with a veteran groups, veteran of foreign war. So I become their annual meeting. And they all like it, what we have to say, but they said, we are very poor, veterans don't have much money, most of them. So, but while at the same times, the effective was when I was sitting in the hotel, then we got a call from one of the generals that, well, we are having a Russian scientist who had experience in Afghanistan on the use of multiple vitamin. Would you like to come? I said, of course, you don't turn down. Then I went there in Quantico and sat with them. And then after meeting, 1 hour meeting, when the meeting was over, I found out what they're doing. They said, do you have anything? Can you develop anything like that? I said, we have a better formula already developed. Then he said, well, you go and then get approval from my scientist. So the next 9 months, I gave a 17 lecture to Air Force scientists, to Marine Corps scientists, to Army, 17 lecture of various groups. And as you know, a scientist from Department of Defense, very conservative. So they used to ask all kind of nasty questions, but I handled very well. So at the end, they said, yeah, you have some scientific basis for this program. So now you test it. I said, we don't have money. So go to the Congress. So another next 9 months or walk through the corridor of Senate and House and meet representatives from both parties, and then secure $12.5 million funding that we collaborated with the Department of Defense Laboratory. And we had a lab here in California to test various things. And so that is the way it started. And then when we went to a Naval Health Research Center in San Diego, I met with the commander there. He said, you have to get first IRB approval, Institutional Review Board of Navy approval. That took another 9 months. So you can see that it was very long, lengthy procedure. Finally, got all the approval, money and everything, started it, tested it, and the rest of the results, you know it.
Well, I think Dr. Court has his hand up. You probably want to jump right in there.
Well, I do, because I just had a question. So you did 17 lectures to scientists, but then how many lectures did you give to Congress?
Oh, Congress. Oh man. That must be at least, not scientific. We used to have access only for about half an hour. I have to present it. First you talk to their assistant and then go to meet the congressman. So we used to get half an hour. And so I would say that both House and Senate and from both parties, I must have met about 15, 16 people.
Wow.
Senator. And that took time too, because not all at one time. We used to go at various dates and get the from their receptionist. We used to get a date when they are available to talk. But whenever we talk to them, they all supported it. But they can't give to a specific company. They have to advertise the post, and then everybody has to apply. It is open for anybody who could have got it.
Mhm.
So for every application, we had a 3 or 4 different application, a 60-page application. And then I submitted it. Fortunately, we got funded. But I'm sure there were other people must have applied too. And so that took for a long time too.
And this was for one formulation.
Just for one formulation.
Right, to protect our troops.
Yeah, micro daily. Now we call it micro daily.
To protect our troops from ionizing radiation,
Mm-hmm.
biowarfare, and extreme stress.
Extreme stress in oxidative damage was the main criteria. And we also tested on a Marine Corps, Marine veterans returning from war in Afghanistan and Iraq, and suffering from a traumatic brain injury, showing the symptoms of a dizziness and balancing problem. So one group got a standard therapy they have been getting all these years, and another group got a standard therapy plus micro daily. We used to call at that time MMF, or military micronutrient formulation. And in 12 weeks period, and they have Dr. Michael Hoffer, who was Navy. Yeah, right there. Yeah. And it was meant for because troops are going for a different place for during war, so they just put in a pocket. So we designed according to their suggestions, and so 12-week period, Dr. Hoffer measured all the quantitative measurement of balancing problem and dizziness, and in all criteria, the combination group did much better just for 12 weeks than the standard therapy alone.
And I know that's really important to Dr. Court.
Yeah, and it all started. The first company was like out of your garage, wasn't it?
Yeah. Scientific nutrition was from garage. My wife was extremely unhappy because telephone was ringing all the time.
Well, and I think
That's what I want our people to understand is that, number one, Dr. Prasad never quits. Number two, he didn't have it easy going through school as a child, and he had to have special tutors and stuff so that then you were number one in your high school, number one in your college, number one in your graduate school, number one, always number one. And then, you get this opportunity, you just never quit. You are the most amazing individual I've ever known, that you never quit. And you didn't deviate off of what that goal was as a young man, to look at how can you help humanity with radiation, radiation sickness. And isn't it incredible that, you and I and Jet have gone through this path for the last 8 or 9 years. And now we're looking at, I just gave a lecture today to a bunch of dentists and chiropractors regarding my protocol for for ionizing radiation for X-ray protection. But then I looped right back into non-ionizing protection at home. And you did all this. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you for your unrelenting ability to never say, I can't. Only I can.
Well, and because the world was really focused on big pharma, and I know that you took a more micronutrient approach like Linus Pauling, and you took the other road. You were pioneers in that direction, and I wanted people to get to hear from you, not in a video, but so you guys, Dr. Prasad does not know what I'm going to ask. He just has the topic just like you. But I did ask him a couple things this morning, if it was okay if we shared. But I think it's really important that you understand, where he came from and the work that he's done relentless for one formulation. And that's all we had at Micro Daily and Engage for many years. That's all we had. And now we have, a suite of products that are a complement, to the foundational product, which is incredible. But with that, one of the things about the formulation that's really important for everybody on the call, that's most important to me as the researcher, is that it's safe. And it takes a lot of money and time and effort for this research for Dr. Prasad to be able to say that it's safe and there's no medication contraindications. are very few supplements out there that can say that, because they're not going to put the money and the research behind it.
Yeah.
Okay. And it takes
How
a
did-
long time.
How did you prove that, Dr. Prasad? How did you prove that every cell in the body would be able to accept the micronutrients and that it was safe for every body?
Yeah, because we tested in human, in varieties of different group. Like in Denver, we tested on a young people, firefighter on this product. Military, we tested on a Marine Corps under a stressful condition. This in a University of Montevideo, we tested a young kid who are heavy smoker for 6 months. Under all these conditions that we tested, it was totally safe.
Mm-hmm. So,
and we measure all those criteria of immune functions or oxidative damage. The immune function will improve, oxidative damage will decrease. So under all these conditions, there was no report and of any kind of toxicity. And as a matter of fact, one was very surprised to me. One of the consumers, in testimonial said, that he has so much very high dose of everything, and micro daily EMF. It was more than therapeutic dose. So his doctor was concerned that maybe you have a toxicity issue. So he went to the doctor and tested it, liver toxicity, or there was no toxicity.
mm-hmm.
And so, this is an isolated case, but we have been in a group of several human studies
Mm-hmm.
that we can say that for sure that it is totally safe. And any drug interaction that we have read it, and that there is no with any micronutrient that we have. Now, if you have sometimes herbs, some multiple vitamin in commercial market as herbs, but they sometimes have an adverse interaction with the prescription or non-prescription medication. And therefore, but because both that independently, if you take a diabetic medicine, they don't do anything with oxidative stress and inflammation, and antioxidant is just for that purpose. So there is no interaction of the same molecule competing for the same cell or same molecule, disease or changes in cells.
And I think that the second part, that this is safe and that it's proven to reduce oxidative stress and inflammation simultaneously.
Yes, simultaneously. This is very important because hydrocortisone, or if you take a Advil or some other, and non-steroid and anti-inflammatory agents, either they can reduce inflammation, but not oxidative stress.
So I wanted to go over a couple of things because next we're leading into the way of nutrients, and then the gut microbiome and your new work. But I wanted to lay this foundation because I think it's so important, because I can go on here and say that you're the expert, and you guys, he doesn't know what I'm going to say. And I think that this is, he's live, so he's, which is incredible. So Dr. Prasad, one of the textbooks that I have of yours, and this is like a lot of medical schools, this right here, if someone has a question about any micronutrient or microRNA or any chronic disease, okay, this is the resource book they can go and look up, and long-term effects of ionizing radiation, and it's the resource. But from there, I pulled out some of the micronutrient myths. Okay, and misconceptions. I'm going to call them misconceptions.
Yeah.
And I think this is a great teaching tool. So in there, you had some of the misconceptions are that antioxidants have only one function.
Yeah, that's misconception. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And why is that?
Because of course, antioxidant has a neutralize free radicals, but it also then affects the inflammation, which is totally by different mechanism, because they downregulate or decrease the pro-inflammatory cytokine production by different mechanism. It also then affects the this NRF2, which is a nuclear transcription factor, and some antioxidant does, not all antioxidant, but some will do it. An interesting thing about this is that when activation of NRF2 require by free radical ROS is a must. But that's for acute phase. When you have a chronic disease like Alzheimer or Parkinson's disease, then oxidative stress, chronic oxidation stress, the nerve to become resistant to ROS, free radicals. And so how do you then, this is resistance, and that's why disease is progressing, how you can activate again. Certain antioxidant can activate the ROS or free radical resistance nerve too. And then, of course, then you have all the functions. So this is a multifactorial issue. And now, even we know now from our own research in the heart, it can modify even the tissue. Like it prevent that nobody would have thought before. It prevent the thickening of the intima wall because the plaque formation was not there. So that was amazing finding.
Off of a multi-micronutrient that you created, right?
Yes.
From the original fly study.
Yes.
Number two, we're getting this a lot from the practitioners. The research that's out there is based off of a single antioxidant research. So the misconception is that a single antioxidant is sufficient to be able to simultaneously reduce oxidative stress and inflammation and found in all chronic disease. And so the current research that's out there is based off of like just vitamin C, or it's just off of a single antioxidant.
Vitamin E.
Right. And so why is walk us through that misconception, because that would be difficult for some of the practitioners because they are looking at the research, but you have a multi-micronutrient approach.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because you see, if you use a single vitamin E, say for example, alone, they have been used in a Alzheimer's disease and other diseases, type 2 diabetes. In animal model, it works fine. But in human, it doesn't work. Why? Because one thing, there are many reasons, but I will give you a couple of reasons. First is that if you have a single antioxidant and your body, like most of them, older people with or without any disease, have a higher level of oxidative environment. A lot of free radicals, a lot of inflammation are being produced. So very high level. And if you single antioxidant goes there, they get oxidized. And when they get oxidized under that environment, then they act as a pro-oxidant, like free radicals, rather than as a single antioxidant. And that's why you saw beta-carotene trial in a heavy smoker that increased the risk of cancer, lung cancer, so by 17%. And even vitamin E, in other cases, in prostate cancer, there was either no effect or increased the risk. So this is one of the reasons. Second reason is that if you just give a vitamin E, it can protect only lipid environment in the cell. But 80% of the cell has a watery, aqueous environment or watery environment. It can protect that. So all the molecules which are present in a water content of the cell, water environment of the cell, they don't get protected. And so it can be effective. And if you use vitamin C alone, then only those molecules which are water portion, they can get protected, but not the lipid portion. So, I mean, this is such a common sense that you will think that they will think before trying the clinical study and wasted so much money.
Spent millions of dollars on that. And that really is the research that's out there. And for most people coming to engage and looking at your formulation, it is
now
really
here the thing that why our formulation will work or is still working. There were two studies published. And this guy, company must have donated a multivitamin for the research. So this was a multivitamin. It was not like ours, but it was some kind of multivitamin where you have multi-antioxidants, some B vitamin and so on. And so there were two different types of a study. One was the reducing the risk of cancer in average population, not high, just average population. So those people who were on a multiple vitamin program, the cancer risk was reduced by 10% compared to those who did not have it. So that is the first demonstration that multiple, and as you know, single vitamin didn't do anything. Anything increases the risk of cancer in some cases, no effect in other cases. So this is the first evidence. Second evidence was that when you have a HIV infection, and then it progresses in, and then you have full-fledged AIDS. So they don't, until you get infection, you don't get right away antiviral drug. People wait till you get a little more, then they give it. So this investigator did, again, a commercial market multiple vitamin. They gave as soon as they found that his HIV viral infection is present there. Then requirement, rather than using right away, requirement for antiviral drug was delayed by 3 years. Just nothing else, no other thing, just the multiple vitamin.
And that's new research. That's just 2022 research.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I mean, this is recent study, and so that we will think that what we are saying is going to work, because here is some, even the not very good multiple vitamin formula have done very well, because those guys who prepared that multiple vitamin just add up everything together without considering.
Which leads me into the next misconception, right?
Yeah.
Which is another one of your misconceptions that we need to get cleared up. Taking a multivitamin once a day is sufficient for your health.
No, that's a very good point, because they don't consider the biological, how quickly they get eliminated from your body. So most of the antioxidant and other vitamin, 50% of them get eliminated from the in 12 hours. So by evening, you have 50% gone, and then another 50% next morning. So your body has very high level of fluctuation of antioxidant in your body. And when I was in Denver, I demonstrated, I had a postdoctoral fellow, molecular biologist. He did a 12,000 human gene chips, and he did a study and found that variation in the level of vitamin E succinate in this case altered dramatically, alteration in the expression of genes, marked from control, even at the dose where you didn't have any effect on cell growth, you see a marked alteration in gene expression. But when the level of the vitamin and vitamin E was different, then you have another different, more aggressive expression of gene. And so we said, if this is happening every day, it is possible that this gene expression can do one-time mistake and induce mutation. And if you have mutation, some mutations are not harmful, but some mutation could be harmful. So it was a precautionary that in order to maintain a steady level, so your cell doesn't see that level of fluctuation. I said, if you take it twice a day, it will reduce. It will be more relatively a steady level of vitamin. And your also cell sees relatively a stable amount of all the time, 24 hours, rather than just in the beginning and then later on, not as much.
Dr. Court, you have that formulation with us there. The micro daily EMF is a twice a day dose. So you're really you're paying XYZ for a 1 a day dose with little research, but this is a twice a day dose.
Yes. In order to prevent the large fluctuation of the Dr. Court.
Well, and my question was that a lot of these companies aren't doing testing on humans. Is that correct?
No, not that I know of.
They are, or they are not.
They are not.
No.
Yeah. So you did your testing on humans as well. Yeah. And then my next question, so that's something that sets us aside from everybody.
Yes.
But then, for instance, now we're seeing a significant increase in our total overall electrical environment. In fact, it's been said in the last 12 years, the worldwide grid has increased by over a quintillion times, which is a 1 with 18 zeros behind it. That being said, for people like I spoke to this woman today who was a school teacher and was having trouble in the classroom, it would be okay for them, or what are your thoughts about them doing an EMF bump during the middle of the day when they start to develop that brain fog?
I think, again, that's okay. I mean, as I said, If you take a preventive dose and take another dose add up, say in a noontime, for that kind of person, that will be okay because again, they are non-toxic.
Mhm.
So worst thing will be no effect, and best thing would be that she will be feeling much better.
Well, I can prove the effects. So we've already done that.
I know
one,
we
and we'll
know
talk
that,
about that
but
another
I'm just
time.
saying in generality, anybody who takes this vitamin, the worst thing would be it has no effect, which is not likely. And best thing would be that it will have a useful effect on your health.
And next month, we're going to be delving into more EMF, hypersensitivity, EMF work, because it is,
Right.
it is that.
Yeah.
So, okay, it is another misconception. It is essential to add iron, copper, or manganese to a multivitamin in order to enhance its health benefits.
That's totally incorrect, because it is true that the trace amount of iron, copper, and manganese you must have. You must have. And body has no mechanism of excretion of these trace minerals. Once they go, they stay in your body. So if you take any kind of salad which grows under the ground, you will have more than your body needs it. And an increase in iron stored in your body is responsible to many chronic diseases. This is, if you go on PubMed and look out the iron and copper, many diseases will come out. And top of that, if you take with vitamin, in the presence of antioxidant, they will get absorbed better than in the absence of such. Suppose if you're taking a salad, it won't be absorbed as much quickly as you take with vitamin. That means your body store in the beginning, when it goes for a few days, there is what is called iron binding protein, ferritin. And then they get saturated. And then iron has no place to go because they can't get out and they are free. Now they will interact with vitamin C molecule or other molecules which are similar to vitamin C and generates a lot of free radicals and creates all kind of health problems. And that's why we did not edit it. And also, we did not operate copper. The same thing is from copper too, because there was a report that published in a Proceeding National Academy of Sciences that increased copper stored in your body or in your brain increase the risk of dementia. So with all this literature available, I said, why I want to add this? So we did not add it. And that's another reason why our product is also very effective, because long-term people are taking for a long time. I'm taking, since before even it was tested, I'm taking it. So, so that is another misconception. It is not necessary at all.
So they create pro-oxidants.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So quickly, Jet. So two things, Dr. Prasad. How long have you been taking your formula?
Russ.
Well, first I was taking the one which was initially, which is the mother of all vitamin that we developed, and which was good. Retention rate was 90%, but then we added a few things in this case. So I would say that I have been taking since 1985, 86.
You're getting ahead of me, Dr. Court.
I'm sorry, but then
he wants to jump right to the good stuff. This is
she didn't give me the notes either. But the second question I was going to say is for the people on the call, what he's saying in a nutshell is that if you're taking somebody else's micronutrients and they have vitamin C, iron, copper, and manganese, it will cause you to rot from the inside out faster because it's creating oxidative stress.
Stress, yes.
So look at the bottle. Look at the bottle.
And I'll give you one example. I was giving a lecture in Long Island, New York, to audiologists. And there were about 30 audiologists, 25 were women. And so after my talk, I was telling about the iron copper. I said, look your formula. So she took out from her bag and looking, yeah, I have iron. They just started throwing out in a garbage can once they know it, that it is not good.
Right. That's a really important point. So now we're going to segue a little bit, and it's fun because you know what? Okay, so this is another one of your misconceptions that are out there. So these are great things for people on the call to think about. Why his multi micronutrient approach is so novel. Okay,
and also why our product is so unique.
And
you unique. Get it, yeah.
Unique. and delivering results. So most supplementary micronutrients pass out of the body in urine and feces. So why do we take them?
Yeah, this is very important. Somebody asked this question that because, when you digest your food, if you are a meat eater, you will make more what is called mutagen, carcinogenic substance during digestion. You can't avoid it. It just, if you are a vegetarian, you will make it, but less. So suppose you don't have any vitamin there, and you ate it, those things will get absorbed slowly, and then increase the risk of various disease, including cancer later on. So what antioxidant does it, and this has been demonstrated at the Ludwig Research Institute in Canada, that when they put a vitamin E and C together, then the amount of mutagens that are formed was much less.
Mm.
So if you take a multiple vitamin like we have, then during digestions, the amount of these toxic chemicals that are normally formed will not form.
From meat. So people that are on a carnivore
or even vegetarian,
Right.
So I think it is a why it happened.
You're still there.
Yeah, okay. So I'm just trying to remove this thing. What happened? Suddenly,
But I also think, Dr. Prasad, while you're doing that, is that only a percentage of the nutrient of the supplements get through, like 10%.
Yeah. So in other words, they get results. So now you have blocked everything. Let me do it again. This is something came out. Okay.
Just hit Zoom.
Some advertisement came out. So when you have you have antioxidant, then those toxic chemicals does not form, and they get then eliminated. And first it doesn't form, and then of course if you have fiber and probiotic, they get eliminated. And so it is very important that even though only 10% get absorbed, but 90% of them does an excellent job, because most of the things that happens to you, to your health, is decided in the intestinal tract. And once you control that events, like with antioxidant, and also, for example, we love bacon. This morning I had with my wife, we went for a breakfast, when you called, we have some bacon. But bacon has also nitrite. And nitrite, when it goes to your stomach, it combines with another amine, which is already there, to form nitrosamine, which is the most powerful human carcinogen. But before taking that, I already took micro daily, EMF. So but if your antioxidant is present in your stomach when you're taking bacon, no nitrosamine is formed. So these are simple things to do to protect you. At the same time, you enjoy it. Not every day. I don't take every day, but maybe once in a week or once in 2 weeks, I eat like that. But anything, you think you like it, you can enjoy it, but at the same time, potential toxicity, you can avoid it. Very simple.
So you're currently working, as we're going to transition from your current work. You just finished up your book on diabetes, and now you're doing some work and book on the gut microbiome. So when you're teaching these medical school students, the last 30 years that you were there, were you teaching
No, at that time I was not aware of microbiome. Nobody was aware. At least, because I was focused on my research, which was funded by NIH rather than looking anything else.
Right. And you discovered butyric acid, which is
fundamental.
And it crosses the blood-brain barrier, and it is very important, to our immune system. But I look at this as we're transitioning from your multi-micronutrient. Now you created a probiotic and the prebiotic, so that will actually help the dysbiose in our gut, which we're seeing as we measure fecal samples. So we do see the dysbiose. We'll be able to see, since the short period of time that you've gotten your probiotic out on the market, that is a beautiful suite of product. It's just, and it really is working, even with symptoms like Dr. Court's seeing, acid reflux or brain fog or bloating. When people first, over a short period of time, we're seeing people, those symptomologies get better. But most importantly, the micronutrients, the micro daily EMF are actually getting in.
Yeah, yeah,
right, and working.
exactly.
So I look forward to in part 2, where we laid the foundation of, yes, you're the expert. Yes, you've written a lot of peer review works and books and nutrients in your passion. And we're here about the Optimal Longevity series to understand that these micronutrients, and even though we're bombarded with EMF radiation and different stressors, that you have even nitrites, if you're vacant, that we can still be healthy. For the next segment, for part 2 in 2 weeks, we're going to look at the digestion and assimilation and how those micronutrients are optimized and what symptoms you may have. Will that work for me? So next week is that part, but this is the fun part. So I do have a goodie series that is really important for the people that are over 70, because we love our goodies. And so I love interviewing them. And so Dr. Court said, please interview Dr. Prasad. So tonight he agreed to be the UE for the goodie series, for everyone to get to hear a little bit more about Dr. Prasad. And Dr. Court got a little ahead, but that's okay, because you know what? It's so exciting. With that, Dr. Prasad, how many years young are you?
I'm only 88.
You're 88.
88.
And so would you mind walking us through like a day in your life, like what it was like at 50, okay? When you were 50, 40 or 50, because I know you're an avid exerciser. I wanted people to understand, you worked hard, but you also were a very active person. So when you were 40 or 50 years old, what was your day like when you're teaching at the university and doing your research?
Yeah, in the teaching and research, and in between, I was a very competitive player of tennis. And my wife will say that you are playing with an 18-year-old kid. Aren't you ashamed of? I said, no, I compete. I beat them sometime. So I will play almost 3-4 times. Somebody will call my friend, you want to play tennis? I said, okay, leave the job, go and play tennis. It was close by. So tennis was another passion for me. And then I got also at the same time, we developed a passion for volleyball. So we had a 6% volleyball, and my team was very good, 6% mixed double. And we called him a Bombay Bomber, the name of the team was. And we competed in a state, lost in final. And so there was another passion that I played a lot of sports. So up to 70, I was playing tennis and volleyball until I left the university. And so that was my passion. After research, sports was my passion. And of course, my family. When I went to the evening home, I never touched anything. It was all for family.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that. That's special stuff that you get to share. So what is your morning start like now?
Now, my wife is addicted to breakfast, not at home, but outside. So 1 week, 5 times a week, we will go outside and we will have ordinary things, sometimes bagel, sometimes like today we had a small breakfast. My wife ordered some bread and some eggs, and that's it. So a small breakfast in the morning. And then lunchtime, sometime I will cook Indian dishes, or sometimes it is leftover from last night, then I will eat. So I eat really these days, because of my age, I ate a 2 good meal, breakfast, small, and lunch. Could be Indian, could be sometime Judy Maxi, sometime we go for a hamburger. And so lunch. And at dinner time, very small amount of dinner, some crackers, some cheese, very small amount. I used to have all 3 meals, but now you ask me nowadays, nowadays I take functionally 2 meals, and then very tiny amount, sometimes soup or something small, maybe 200 calorie worth of food in the evening.
And so the supplements that you have taken, so we've known
everything. Prasad bundle, I take all.
Okay. So Dr. Prasad has been taking the core formulation of this product since 1985, and we all want to be as sharp as him. He didn't say one time. Okay, and he has no preface of what questions I'm going to ask. It's so incredible. So it's 1985, you've been taking that core formula. And so walk us through what products you take. So you take the Dr. Prasad's bundle.
Yes, all very faithfully, and including CBD.
Okay. And how often do you take, and how do you take your collagen?
So collagen I take once a day. I put the warm water a little bit and then dissolve it to get quickly dissolved. But I think new product is much better than the old one. But I have old one as yet. And so I take about...
You mean the one that has more amla in it? The new collagen product that has more amla?
No, it is not more amla. It is mostly that it is a more soluble. In other words, its particle is much finer. It passes through another machine. It's so fine that it gets mixed with the water very quickly. And so that's one advantage. And amla extract is a little bit more, but that much difference, but main thing is that it is much more efficient, so that it is absorbed better when you are drinking. It tastes also better, according to when I read about that particular preparation called agglomerator machine they pass through. So most of the collagen peptide, they don't go through that machinery, and therefore they are okay, but it is much more easily digestible than the previous one, say, for example.
Oh, that's
and also, when you dissolve it, it does not settle in the bottom, anything. It just stays with the water.
excellent.
I have not done it, but this is what I read about it.
So what time does your workday start for everyone on here? Like what is your morning when you first wake up?
When I get up in the morning, first 1 hour I do, nowadays I do 45 minutes stretching exercise. Then I do some meditation, breathing exercise. And then about, I would say most of the time, 7:30, I come here and then watch some TV. My wife gets up at 8:15, then we go for breakfast. My real work starts at 9:30.
9:30.
Then work on my computer, my book writing or review paper or whatever I'm doing it, And then watch 2-3 hours. Sometime I will take a break for 15 minutes and see some Indian movie, and come back here again. And then in the afternoon, we have a lunch. Then afternoon, I don't do anything. And in the evening, we see after 4:30, I don't work after 4:30. Then I watch some Indian serials, historical, and then I watch some Colbert Report and some comedian type of show. And then 9 o'clock I go to bed. Then I go to bed. Then I do again meditation, some for about 10 minutes, and then I go to bed and get up at 5:30.
And you get up, that's what I was trying to, he gets up very early, he's very consistent, and he does a lot of stress reduction. So I know that when I was diagnosed with breast cancer over 5 years ago, it wasn't my nutrients, it was the amount of stress that I had. So he told me I had to work on my stress reduction, and been cancer-free for 5 years. So grateful. And that we only had one product. And I took it very consistently. And I know that Dr. Prasad is very consistent at taking his product.
Yeah, so I'm very, very, very careful. Once in a while, when I go for dinner, like once a week with my whole family, sometimes I abuse myself, take more food than I should in the evening, have a drink. But that's the only time I drink, once a week.
And with that, in closing, what do you think the key, 2 or 3 keys to optimal longevity, Dr. Prasad, for everyone on this call? She just got to get a little snippet of his life. Okay. What do you think those keys are for people to live optimal longevity?
Yeah. Control your calories, eat the amount of food, not excessive amount. and exercise and take micronutrient. Exercise means, in that also include lifestyle changes, don't smoke, all this kind of stuff, and a good diet, which is fruit, vegetable, this kind of stuff. But exercise also is important. Either walk 30 minutes or do exercise, just go to gym, any kind of form of exercise, and micronutrient. Those three things will have if you start, you will be as good or better than me. Because I started later on. When I was young, I abused like anybody else, myself in drinking and eating and everything else. But when I became alert, then I became a little more disciplined. And still once in a while, I abuse myself, but that's okay.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad. So Dr. Court and myself and everyone on here, we thank you for your time, Dr. Prasad. And so this was the first part of nutrients and gut microbiome. And I know, are you, before we transition, are you excited for what you're finding in the research about the gut microbiome? And
yeah, I'm extremely excited. I was totally ignorant. I'm extremely excited. Not only that, where another thing that you sent it, and I was also working on that, that the control of glucose is very important for your brain function. And type 2 diabetes has twice as much risk of developing dementia. Not only dementia, but also age-related loss of memory, which is totally distinct from dementia. And so not everybody has a diabetes, but if you have or these things, first thing would be to control it as soon as possible. If you are obese, you lose weight. You see what I mean? There are some simple things people can do it, but nobody does it. And that's why I said, I'm a little more disciplined than most of the people are, but we have been talking about changes in diet, good lifestyle forever. Have anybody done? Few people have done it, but not as a population. And therefore, the risk of all diseases from diabetes to Alzheimer's is increasing. Yes. So what is the next best thing you can do? Try to follow the guideline as much as possible. Try to do exercise as much as you can, but you must then supplement with the micronutrient so that you can have a healthy lifestyle, better immune function, and enjoy your old age.
That is an excellent way to end. And so Dr. Court, on behalf of Dr. Court and myself, I'm looking forward to part 2 because he got excited about the next piece about really the nutrients and the assimilation in the gut microbiome, because that's where all the nutrients are assimilated or not. And I think that we're going to do a more deeper dive this next time and hear about your latest work on the gut microbiome. But Dr. Court, do you want to close this out?
I would love to. I just had one quick question, and that was, do you drink a lot of water?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I drink. I drink about 3 or 4 big glass of water. Yeah, I'm glad you pointed out. So these are all lifestyle changes, and for example, in the beginning, I will emphasize to my son that you have to drink some more water. But he ignored for a while, but now every time I remind him, now he's taking more water. But, young kids, they just take a Coke. Coke is full of sugar,
If you won't feed it to the dog, don't drink it yourself.
Yeah. So, I seldom drink any kind of a soft drink or any sugar drink. I just drink mostly water. Once in a while, I will have a Coke, but once in a month, maybe.
Well, we'll talk about that more next time.
And I think that for everybody on here, we can't, with our ambient environment and all the EMF and all the stressors in our environment, this product is proven to protect from ionizing radiation, non-ionizing radiation, biowarfare, extreme stress, oxidative stress, which we all have. And so you have a safe, simple solution.
Yes.
For medication contraindications. So thank you, Dr. Prasad.
Sure.
And
we have external stressor, like you mentioned, many kind of things. We have internal stressor, like oxidative damage, inflammatory program. So it is both. Sometimes the environment may not control under your control. sometimes, but at least you can do to control your internal stressor by simply taking the micro daily. So you avoid all those environmental as much as you can and do it, like you said, Dr. Court.
More to come next time.
Yes.
Okay.
To protect yourself from the inside out
Yes.
with the Micro Daily suite of products. So
Yeah.
get back to the person that got you on this call and ask them to get started. Okay?
Yes.
For
Yes.
you people that are just learning, and we love our preferred customers, we're just excited that you're here, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you, Dr. Prasad, and thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Ford.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Dr. Prasad. Thank you,
Thank you.
Jonette.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Dr. Court.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
God bless Dr. Prasad.
Take
Yeah.
care, everybody. Remember, tomorrow night is Ask Dr. Prasad. To Dr.
Tomorrow,
Prasad.
yeah,
Same
tomorrow.
time, tomorrow
And
night.
also-
Let's go.
There is.
Take care.
Tomorrow morning also we have. Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning.
guys.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.